All right, we're officially gonna get started. I wonder how everyone's doing today. I hope everyone's amazing. I just want to thank y'all for being here, investing time into all the things. Yeah, I'm thankful. I want to start this presentation, PowerPoint conversation off with just acknowledging that we are on stolen land that was built by stolen people. And yeah, let's get started. I'm going to go to the next slide. And y'all going to hear me say next slide a lot in this. I'm a little bit nervous, but bear with me. Yeah, so hey everybody, I'm Marce. Yeah, I was born and raised in Pittsburgh. I went to Pittsburgh Public Schools. Yeah, recently I received my BFA in ceramic arts from West Virginia University with a minor in Africana Studies, where I just became so invested in the history of ceramics and mostly the history of ceramics in America, especially pertaining to ceramic plantations. Next slide. Like I said, I'm a little bit nervous, maybe not just a little bit, but a lot of bit nervous. But so we're gonna start out with an icebreaker. Ideally, I want this to be more conversation based, like more of a back and forth. Like I'm here, I'm presenting, but this is not like a dictatorship. Like this is all of us collectively coming together. And I may know a certain amount of information, but I do not know all of the information. And there might be other people in the chat or in other breakout rooms who may be able to answer a question better than I can. So the icebreaker for today is, what is your most used emoji? What is the weirdest food that you have ever eaten? And what was your first like clay or ceramic experience? I'll give everybody a couple seconds and I'll answer first, I guess. My most used emoji is the glittery, sprinkly, okay. It's like a glittery, sprinkly emoji. It has like 3 little glitter things. That's my favorite emoji. I see Nicole has her hand up. What's your most used emoji?
Marce, I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you. You're doing beautiful. You're perfect. And I appreciate you. And our chat is disabled. So I don't know how to do that.
Well.
Can the summit moderator?
I think we can fix that.
Okay. As we're back, but there it is. Okay. All fixed. Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right.
My most emoji is upside down.
Okay.
Upside down smiley face.
Yes. Okay, I'll go for the weirdest food that I've ever eaten. So I studied abroad in Jingdezhen, China, and there was this one food that I ate. It was like a gelatin noodle. And it was a noodle, but it was a square. And I don't know what the proper name was for it, but the texture was just so strange. And I think that was the weirdest food that I have eaten. The chat is back. Does anyone else have the most used emoji? All right. Okay, the fairy, the purple heart, smiley teeth. All right, y'all. Thank you. The laughing emoji, definitely. All right. So thank you everyone for participating in the icebreaker. Also, this picture is Ai Weiwei dropping a Han Dynasty urn. Yeah, if you don't know Ai Weiwei, you should check them out. So this is our workshop. So we're trying to figure out how ceramics, one of the oldest form of art, can be used as a tool for resistance. So we're going to investigate the ways that the seemingly fragile material has the powerful potential to reclaim, rebuild, and reform history. We're going to dive deep into understanding the historical impact of the burning of Black history from chattel slavery to present day. And we're going to investigate the molecular nature of clay that continues to survive genocides and natural disasters. So first, we're going to talk about the chemical nature of clay. So clay, physically, if anyone has used clay, it is sticky. Whenever actually like in the ground it's dry, but when it's added to water, it becomes sticky, malleable. You can use it to do pretty much anything. But chemically, it is alumina, silica, and water. So here is a beautiful diagram by K-Science, and they're showing how you combine the clay and the water together to make clay, which is malleable. And you'll see a lot of people wheel throwing or coil building, using a bunch of different techniques to create these things. Excuse me. One of the things that separates clay from any other material is that once it is fired in what we know today as a kiln, and then it is then vitrified. So in this diagram, you see the little pots going in the kiln. The kiln is not an oven. It goes to extremely high temperatures to extract all of the chemical water and physical water so that it can become solid as like rock, which usually happens over the course of like centuries. Next slide, please. Here is just showing more of like a fine detail of like the atoms and the chemical makeup of it going from clay to ceramics. When a lot of people think about things melting, say if anyone has ever seen like a glass melt, it becomes softer and therefore it's more malleable in fire. But when it comes to ceramics, it turns into a crystalline material rather than it becoming like a porous material once it's fired. Next slide, please. Like I said, ceramics is when that chemical water and the physical water is extracted out of the clay in order to create this hard, very brittle material. But one of the biggest things about ceramics is that it has an extremely high melting point. Now, there's differences between low fire, high fire, this fire, that fire. But most clays have an extremely high melting point. Next slide, please. Now we're going to get into the juice of all of this. So we're going to go into 3 breakout rooms before we begin, and I'm going to ask, and we can discuss what is the historical impact of the burning of Black history from chattel slavery to present day. So we discussed the ways that like the fire can refine the clay to create like these beautiful works of art. But we also have to recognize the ways that fire historically has been used to terrorize people of color in the destruction of Black history that has erased So like not only just people's narratives, but also their equity and all the other things. So yeah, we're going to go into 3 breakout rooms. And this is our elevator music. Oh, hello, everyone. Welcome back. I hope it wasn't too abrupt, and I wish that we had the ability to unmute ourselves here.
Marce, I just wanted to tell you, I think they're all still in the breakout room for 20 more seconds.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, then some deep conversations happening. It helps me right now.
Yeah, they have 10 more seconds. It's giving me a countdown.
Okay, and you can still, y'all can see me, right?
I can see you. I don't know.
Yes, I can see you.
Okay, I just can't see myself. I think we already determined that one. Thank you.
Looks like they're all back now, Marce.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. I hope that the ending wasn't too abrupt, but yeah, I popped in some rooms and someone said that the historical impact of the burning of Black history, what it has left us with, were the lies. Like, that's what we were left with. So we're gonna go down the line, and I'm gonna talk about a lot of cities or places and spaces that have been burnt to the ground. And I'm only gonna talk about a few of the many, many, many. So we're gonna start with the Pennsylvania Hall fire. It is said that it was a combination of racism, misogyny, and greed that doomed Pennsylvania Hall, a building that opened on May 14th, 1836, and was destroyed 3 days later. That was said by Amy Cohen. So the Philadelphia Hall fire, it was built in Philadelphia, PA, and it was actually one of the first meeting spaces for abolitionists. Next slide, please. Another place was the Springfield Race Riot, or also known as the Springfield Massacre. And this was the capital of Illinois. And basically what had happened was 5,000 white men, they attacked Black neighborhoods and they murdered a lot of Black citizens on the streets, and they destroyed a lot of businesses as well. And the personal property and damaging is thought to have been like well over like $1 million in like downtime in like 2021. Next slide, please. Oh, other well-known massacre was the Tulsa Race Massacre that a lot of people know as the Black Wall Street, and that was located in the Greenwood District in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Another one is the Rosewood Massacre, which happened in Rosewood, Florida in 1923 by large groups of white aggressors. And a lot of the tenants of this city, they had to go and hide in swamps for weeks on end, and a lot of them were permanently displaced. And this story has been forgotten until more recently in the 1980s. And one of the more recent massacres or burning is the 1985 MOVE bombing, when the Philadelphia police dropped a bomb on what they called the MOVE house, which murdered 11 people, 5 of them being children. And I think about 250 residents were left without homes. Next slide, please. So the question is, what if we remembered the past and allowed it to guide us in imagining the future? So the truth is that as terrible as it is, this is our history. This is the history of America, and this is what it tried so hard to hide. And now we're excavating it. So what does ceramics have anything to do with this? Something that a lot of people don't know is that there were ceramic plantations. So back in the day, a lot of people, when they think of plantations, they think of crops, they think of cotton, they think of all of the things. But what a lot of people fail to realize is that during that time, there wasn't any refrigerators. So the main source of refrigeration was through storage vessels and just ceramics. So like technically without ceramics, we will not be here today. Here is a historical rendering of what was known as Pottersville. Also, this was right next door to a place called Edgefield, South Carolina. Here's me inside of a dragon kiln in China. And on the right, it is a photograph of like what Pottersville would have looked like. And a lot of people believe that ceramicists from China will come to America and they will teach the enslaved peoples how to operate the kilns, how to like different alkaline glazes and so many other things, because ceramics is extremely labor intensive. Like nowadays we can go to the standard ceramics and we can pick up a box of clay, but before then someone had to be digging that clay, refining that clay, firing the kilns. Someone had to be doing that work. And so they forced enslaved people to become ceramicists. Here's some of the work that was made during this time. On the left is a water cooler. This is like a traditional South Carolina style. This was found in Edgefield, South Carolina. And it's just a typical water cooler with a white slip. And you can tell the detail of the flour that was inlaid onto the pot. These were mass produced. In a lot of South Carolina homes, once you walk in there, you'll see these pots. Now the pot on the right is a vessel that it is thought that many like enslaved peoples, they had, well, we know that they had weddings. And so a lot of them were potters. And here is the evidence that there were weddings and that they made these pots secretively and they will hide them in the bottom of the kiln whenever they're firing. These are face jugs, or a lot of people call them, they're face jugs. So here, there's like a lot of exaggerated facial features. There's bulging eyes with bare teeth. And it's believed that these were used to protest against enslavement. And so on the left, this one was found in, I believe, North Carolina. And this vessel would have been used to carry water. So a lot of enslaved people, they used the vessels to carry the water while they're inside the fields. But a lot of them also used them for whenever like they're burying someone, because during that time they weren't allowed to have grave markers. So then they use the ceramics as the grave marker. Here's another vessel. This is more of a modern rendition of something called a memory jug. So enslaved people will use these jugs as grave markers. And this is one where they will bring all of the things that that enslaved person loved or that they did, and they will kind of Mod Podge it onto a finished vessel like this one. So now we're going to talk about Dave the Potter, my favorite person to talk about. So Dave the Potter, who is also known as Dave the Slave or David Drake, he was significant because he wrote poems on his pots during an era where it was illegal to teach a slave how to write. So he's mostly known for like his humongous storage vessels. Now, when I say humongous, I mean like they can fill like 33 gallons of water. Like, it's significant. Next slide, please. So Dave was born and raised in Edgefield, South Carolina, and he was born into slavery in about like 1801. He's mostly known for the works that he created in Pottersville, which was that like physical rendering with like the red tape in that area. Here is one of his poems. His poems are thought to be very just like, not necessarily witty, but they're just very real. And he is one of the first people that we have seen he's one of the first people that we have seen where they just like, he just encapsulates what it meant to be a slave during that time. So I'm gonna let you have a moment to just read the poem. So this poem specifically was about the selling of slaves and the disruption of family structures. We can go on to the next slide. This is Dave Belongs. On one side, it just says Dave belongs. And then on the other side, it says the next stanza. A lot of people believe that next slide, please. A lot of people believe that the sun, moon, and the stars jars is actually referencing escaping through the Underground Railroad. This poem is just showing the economics of selling his pots. This is believed to be done sort of like in the middle of his career. Also, I will say that Dave was unique in a way that his pots were so monumental that it's like the other potters kind of needed his like technique and his they needed his experience, because without these humongous vessels, it's like the less you could store. And so that's what a lot of scholars believe, that's the reason that he was able to do this. This vessel is just displaying what the vessel is used for. So many butchers and market owners, like, they have this pot just sitting outside. I think a lot of people just ignored it and walked past it, but people haven't really like actually sat with it until I'll say the last 10 years, 10, 20 years. This is on a 30-gallon jar. And a lot of people believe, not a lot of people, scholars believe that Frederick Douglass's 1952 speech, "What to the slave is 4th of July," that's what he was responding to when he wrote this couplet. All right, we're going to go into breakout rooms again. Yay. How can we move towards justice through the legacy of ceramics? I'll say, like, be creative. Think about how this can actually be used as a tool for resistance. Now that we know that these writings and these etchings, they last for like forever, literally. How can it be used to change the narrative, to rewrite the lies? And so, yeah. Hey.
Sorry you got cut off, Homer, but thank you for sharing.
Hi, folks. Sorry, this is the summit moderator here. I have been having difficulty with the breakout rooms, but everyone will be coming back
Hey.
in 2 minutes.
It's me.
Hi.
It's okay if we all come back to the main room.
Okay. I'll do that then.
Okay. Also, is it possible whenever we're all back to the I guess once the presentation's over and then we can all see each other for Q&A, right?
Yes, we'll just have to ask folks to turn on their video.
Okay. Alrighty. Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, everybody. I think everyone is back now, possibly. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties. So just hang back for just a second.
Marce, thank you. I have to roll. It was beautiful, and I'm glad it's being recorded.
Okay, thank you for coming.
Y'all don't leave. I'm only leaving because I have to. This is awesome. Don't leave. All right. Take care.
Peace. All right, y'all. We back. That last conversation was good. I popped in. Oh my gosh. Right now our chat is open. If you want to unmute and say what you got out of this question, or if you have any proposals or anything like that, feel free to. The floor is open. Or we can wait until later. Oh, also, if you want to unmute yourself, you have to turn your video on. I'm pretty sure. But we're going to go to the next slide, and we're going to talk about people who are already using ceramics with social justice. So one of the people is Roberto Lugo. He is currently at the Met. He is getting a lot of publicity right now, and I hope that just continues for all of the ceramicists. He is a social activist, spoken word poet, an educator, and his work is based on hip hop, history, politics, and also his cultural background. And he creates it into like a formal ceramics, basically like English tea sets and other things like that. I'm gonna go to the next slide. Another artist is Paul Briggs. Paul Briggs' work, his current body of work focuses on mass incarceration, all of the things. You should check all of these artists out, and there's so many more who I'm not listing right now, but I wish I had the space to. We're going to go to the next slide. Sharif Bey, a Pittsburgh legend, a Pittsburgh native. We're going to go to the next slide. And Simone Leigh. Yes. Okay, I can see the chat now. Sharif is at the Carnegie Museum right now. So if you ain't see the show, it's amazing. You should go see it. Simone Leigh is a Chicago, well, she's from Chicago. And she is well-known. She's just well-known, period, point blank. But she's well-known for her show called The Waiting Room, which is in honor of Esmond Green, who was an African-American woman who waited 24 hours in an emergency room. And she passed away there due to the lack of care. So we're going to kind of end, but we're going to open up the space in the room for all the questions. But our question is, what would you like to say to freedom fighters in the future? Like if I had I do have some, of course I have clay. I have like a ceramic bowl here. Like if I were to write on it, what would you like to say? Like a telegram, what would you like to leave for freedom fighters in the future?
Yeah, is it set up? Yep. Yeah, what I would like to say to the freedom fighters of the future, what I would like to say to the freedom fighters of the future is, be not disheartened. If you only take a step toward freedom, remember that the longest journey begins with the first step. And that step that you take is off the shoulders of your ancestors who didn't get to the freedom land, but they knew where it was and they guided you in the right direction.
Thank you. Anyone else? The floor is open.
I would say for people to be fearless when they create, because like, you know, I feel like a lot of the times people second guess themselves when something's like super important or they're nervous to say something. So be fearless.
Okay, I feel that. Be fearless. Thank you. Lauren says, oh, sorry, generational wealth. Whoever was going to speak, take the floor.
Are we still available? Yeah, you can. I hate to contradict the last two, but being fearless in my mind, and this is my opinion, is to be a fool. You should not be fearless. What really makes you a hero is to do what you know is right in spite of your fear. If you're not fearless, then it means nothing to you. But if you have fear, but the thing that you stand for, the right that you're defending, the moral that you believe in is stronger than your fear, then you will overcome that fear. But I'm not going to tell anybody I'm fearless. I have fears, but I still act on what I believe to be right.
Okay, I feel that. Anybody? I think I seen someone unmute. Did anyone else have anything to say? The chat. Okay. Someone says, maybe courageous over fear. It's okay to be afraid. I mean, I was afraid to come speak to y'all today, but I guess I'm here. Okay, Jean asks, okay, now we could go to questions. The next slide, our last slide. Jean says, can you say any more about the risk Dave and other enslaved people took to create their vessels when they were not even permitted to read and write? I'll say definitely, first, I think Dave came from a generation of potters. Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure it came from a generation of potters. So one of the things is like, let me make sure I'm answering your question right. The risk. Oh, let's just talk about the risk. The risk, I'm not going to get too graphic, but it's lynching. It's like, it's the same risk that any other enslaved person had if they were to eat the crops off of the land. Like, it had a lot of reprimand. But like I said, a lot of the people who owned the pottery plantations, they didn't have the skill set to actually run it. So in a way, it was kind of like, because of the experience of the potters, they did have a little bit more of a leeway, because like what were they called? Like a master? Like they have leverage, like they have the funds, they have violence as an act to kind of keep people in check. But in reality, they couldn't run the shop if they, yeah. I don't know if that answered your question or not. Okay, you're welcome. Yes. Okay, does anyone else have any questions or comments or anything like that?
Can we hear a little bit more about your own work, personal work?
My own work?
Thank you.
Yes. So I think some people know me personally as like an artist. And so my work is based off of like the permanizing of my own movement of like, so I do a lot of coil building and pinching techniques, and it is very meditative for me. And I didn't come prepared to talk about my work, but I know I should be prepared all the time. But basically it is a combination of coil building, and then I do pit firing. And I think also someone in the chat, someone in one of the breakout rooms said to create more ceramics. And something I want to talk about is also the land. Like, I haven't had a chance to actually pit fire because I don't have the land to pit fire. So it's like a two-edged sword of like, it would be amazing if there was like enough land for all the freedom fighters to come and just write what they want to say. But at the second, there isn't. But who's to say it's not the future? And I don't know if that answers your question or not, but thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you for the introduction to memory pots. That was something that I had never seen before, but I'm completely intrigued by it. So thank you. I mean, this whole thing was amazing, but that's definitely one thing that has stood out, and I'll, research further going forward. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, memory pots are amazing. Like when I first found out about them, I was just like, not mind blown, but kind of mind blown. It's like, that is so genius. Like, yeah. All right. Does anybody else have any questions or anything like that? Going once, going twice. I think I checked the chat. Yeah, thanks everyone for coming. I hope you enjoyed, learned something. A lot of you taught me some things. I'm very thankful that all of y'all decided to spend your Saturday